Hey guys, welcome back to my channel for an all new episode recap of today's Days of Our Lives, September 22, 2025. So we start off with Tate and Brady. So Brady and Marlena were already there at the penthouse, and they were just briefly chatting. And Tate comes in. They're surprised to see Tate because they didn't expect him to be away from the dorm, this quickly. So he said that he wanted to check in on Rachel, see how she's doing since she, ran away from school and all that. So Brady said that the school is monitoring her and she's under extreme surveillance and she has consequences for that as well as the result of her actions, right? So, anyways, Marlena leaves because she has an appointment to go to. So that leaves Brady and Tate to really talk. And Brady said, I have a feeling it's not just about racial. So Tate, again, with his whiny, moronic self, talks about his grand gesture to make sure that Sophia talks about um, how, how and where, who are these parents, information on the baby, blah blah blah. So he tells his dad about his grand gesture, and it turns out it never worked out. And Brady set him straight that, look, you're just using Sophia and hurting Holly in the process, and you need to make things right with Holly because you cheated on her. I understand that you're trying to, find information on your child, but at the same time, at what length? Because you can't string Sophia along. Sophia's gonna think that there's more to it as she's interested in you, right? And Holly, you and Holly got through this argument and stuff, and for you to do that, that doesn't look good, right? He's still proud of him for reaching out to him for advice on this because obviously he messed up and he needs some advice on it, right? So anyways, he tells him to make it work with Holly and everything and leave him and Steve to this, right? Again, Tate just proves how annoying and moronic he is because, for one thing, he's still blaming Holly for messing up things. I don't think if Holly didn't come in or not, that Sophia was really going to tell you what you needed, right? But, anyways, on to Sarah and Rafe. Rafe takes Sarah in for his checkup and he's doing all well. And they just briefly talk about how it's going to be painfully hard for Rafe and his family to give up the baby when it's time for him to be adopted. And Sarah understands that because she knows what it feels like when she had to give up Rachel, even though it's different situations and she gets to see Rachel whenever, it's still hard, right? So she's just glad that she still gets to be involved in her life and she really loves that little girl like her own, right? So anyways, they talk about you know, his prospects and everything, and that was really it. Nothing more, nothing less. Just a checkup, everything was good. So Johnny and Chanel are talking about the whole fallout with Titan Demir, and Johnny's worried about it because he wished he was actually able to go to the press conference and be the cameraman and probably intervene when Tony was sabotaging the whole press meeting, right? So he was stuck in a department meeting at Salem U, and Chanel said, "Look, I don't think there was nothing you could do to stop it. It is what it is with that." So now he's worried about how, what is his job prospects at Titan America considering the merger might, go belly up. And he feels bad because Xander gave him a job considering that he is a part of one of Titan's enemies, right? So he feels bad about that and that Alex was really understanding to make him work at both jobs. And Chanel said, look, like, don't worry about it. Your job will be secure. And even if it falls under, you still have that job at Salem U. But again, Johnny's complaining about how it's not going to give him that much security and pay like how Titan Mirror is. So he really wants to hold on to that job, right? So Chanel is still trying to assure him that everything will be all right. She has her safety net at the bakery, and also, he has a trust fund. And he said that he doesn't want to rely on that. He wants to be able to provide for the family, considering they're about to adopt. And he wants to look good on paper as well. She said, don't worry about it. Considering you're teaching another generation of CMU, film and media, that looks good on paper. So everything should be fine. Don't worry about it, right? So they talk more about the baby and the adoption. And, Johnny's looking forward to it this time around that, he is looking forward to welcoming the baby with Chanel. And Chanel, so even though it's, they want to adopt the Files baby, they are happy with any other baby as well. So at some point he says he has this coffee date with his grandfather, and he went off, and then she happened to surprise him, and she told him the news about how Paulina was able to you know pull some strings and talk to somebody at child social services or whatever, and that they are in good lineup for adopting the Fires baby, right? So they're just happy and over the moon about that, right? Now, Holly and Ari were at the pub, and Holly's just filling out the internship application because remember, Kate said that she had an was going to sort out the application for internship at Titan the Mirror, and she's so excited about it and everything. So they're talking amongst themselves, and Holly's talking about working things out with Tate, and at some point, they see Sophia, and it's always awkward as usual. So I remember Ari saw Sophia come out of Tate's room, and she didn't tell Holly as yet. So Holly leaves, right? Because again, she's just trying to be nice. She's trying to be cordial. And Sophia's like, is there a reason why she's acting a little bit more weirder, a little bit too nice? So Ari said that she asked Ari if she told her what happened the night before. So she said, no, I did not tell her. Like, what would I even tell her? Like, you sneaking out of the room, nothing happened. She would have believed that. So Holly happened to overhear the part about Sophia sneaking out of Tate's room, and even if something happened that, Holly brought it on herself and all of that. So Holly came over and said, what did you say? So she said that, it was nothing serious, and, sorry about that, and blah, blah, blah. But she wasn't sorry, right? So, anyways, Sophia does what she always does, which is to just, exit stage 4, right? So, anyways, Holly's asking her, like, what happened? Like, how come you never tell me? So she said, I just found out the night before, and I didn't want to worry you. I know you and Tate are on the outs, and I didn't want you to overreact or get more angry than you already are, right? So she tells her what she knows, but she doesn't believe that nothing really happened, right? So Marlena had an appointment with Sarah, and Sarah was just going through the test results. She was telling her that she showed no indications of having Lyme disease or any other illnesses for that matter. So now they're still back at square one, trying to figure out like what's really going on with Marlena. And she's considered she's had a lot going on her plate. And Sarah talked to her about Rachel skipping school and how that must have affected her. She said she's glad that she is safe and sound and that they're just monitoring her a lot more closely. And now, Brady has to figure out visiting times for Rachel and Kristen because she does miss her mom. And regardless of how she feels about Kristen, she is an absolutely great mom to her. And even if she has to fill in to really carry Rachel or supervise Rachel with Kristen, the visiting times, she will do that. And Sarah also offers to be there for Rachel as well because she also loves that little girl. So Marlena said, is it going to be hard for you considering your history? So she said, sometimes it will be hard, but it's mostly positive. Whenever she is around Rachel, it brings up mostly positive memories, right? So Sophia meets up with Johnny because remember Johnny said that he had this coffee date with his grandfather, but turns out that he also was supposed to meet up with Sophia. So Sophia just wanted to catch up with the first day of class because she missed it, right? So he said you didn't really miss much, and he said that I thought that Holly was going to catch you up on it. So she said no, she didn't. So of course she had to rub it in as always. So anyways, he gives her the syllabus and he tells her the assignment that she said she already watched a couple times. So he said, you're way ahead, right? So he said that I know that I'm the professor here and I know that me and Shana were trying to adopt your baby, but things went left. I hope that things won't be awkward as you're in my class now. So she said that it honestly is awkward because that being fallen through, she feels as if it messed up her life, but she's hanging in there. All's well that ends well, and she's hanging in there. She'll be good. So again, I really cannot stand, I don't like Tate and I don't like Sophia. Like Sophia acts like this little needy victim a lot, and she likes to stir the pot, indirectly, especially when it comes down to Holly. She blames Holly for how things ended up with Tate, and like get over it, right? Her, Gwen, and Tate, they have this little whiny thing about them, this victim trait that they have. It is very annoying. At some point she is there, and she's, she sees Chanel, and she goes in the corner there hiding, right? So that was when Chanel was telling Johnny about the good news with her mom actually, speeding up things for them with regards to adopting this baby, right? So she's just there like, oh my gosh, this oh my gosh look, right? But things are gonna really end badly for this girl, but I'm here for it. So anyways, Rafe and Brady meet up. Rafe has Tesaro, and Brady's looking at the baby, and he's saying that, wow, this could actually be my grandson, Tate's son. So he thanks Rafe for again administering, well, getting through with this DNA test, and he is thankful for their family still looking out for him. Like, if this happens to be his grandson, he is indebted to them, right? So Rafe said, look, I just want to have some closure for you and for Tate, and I know that it must have been hard, and it's going to be hard for us to part ways with him. And they talk about Johnny and Chanel possibly adopting this baby, and how ironic it is considering they initially tried to adopt the baby in the first place. And if it turns out to be Tate's son, at least Tate will be relieved that he will be in Salem, and that it will be in the family still. They will get to see him as often as they can, so it will work out well. They talk about Sophia and how Sophia is not really giving them no leeway, but Rafe also points out that she did the right thing to bring him to the firehouse, because he ended up being safer there, and taken care of there by him and his family, right? And he talks about how Leon and Javi have gotten close to the baby, and how they take turns with him, and you have really done tremendously well by him, right? So Brady is just hoping that the DNA test will prove once and for all that this baby is possibly Tate's child, right? So back to Holly and Ari and them, talking about the whole thing with Sophia possibly, you know, creeping around with Tate, right? So Tate comes in, and Tate is like, Holly, I need to talk to you. So Holly just goes ahead and give him the 1-2 combination punch, and I'm here for it because he definitely deserved it for how he treated her and what he recently did by kissing Sophia, because he could have dealt with this a different way, or even included Holly on his plan, right? He didn't think this thing through as he normally did, right? The only time I give this guy points is when he actually stood up to Doug and handled things. The only time I've seen him use his brain properly. But again, he's the son of Brady, so they really don't use their brain that often, right? So anyways, he tries to, he's like, what did I deserve this for? And I'm saying, Tate, really? You can't put two and two together to think that maybe Holly found out the truth about you and Sophia. That's why she punched you out of nowhere. So she said, come on, after one night, after one night of argument or whatever, right? You go ahead and cheat with Sophia. And it's like, everybody tell me that you guys are gonna be bonded for life with this baby, and that I should have, should be cautious, I was a fool for this and all that. So I am done. We are done for good, right? And Tate is trying to stop her and everything, and Ari's just caught there in the mix. But listen, I wouldn't mind if they don't come back together, because Holly can do 1,000 times better. And I know that she set him up initially, and she was wrong for that. But she has grown so much in my eyes. As far as the teen scene here, she grew the most to me. But anyways, guys, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe to my channel. Comment below your thoughts on today's episode. Let me know what your thoughts are. I'll see you tomorrow.